Okay. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Jason Vinson. I'm a wedding and documentary photographer based in Northwest Arkansas, and today I'm talking with Lindsay Adler about the new Canon R5. Lindsay is a fashion photographer out of New York, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So, Lindsay, how about for those that may not know who you are and what you do, why don't you give us a little rundown?
Yeah, sure. So I spend my life as a mix between shooting fashion and beauty photography and teaching. And those are kind of the two driving factors in my life. So it's pretty cool because one day I'll be creating some, avant-garde beauty look. And then the next day I get to, fly somewhere and teach a group, back when we could fly places. So yeah. And I've been shooting now for more than half of my life, but I've been in New York for, I think it's almost 12 years now.
Awesome. So between the fashion and beauty and the education, would you say you're pretty close to like 50-50, or are you more one or the other?
No, I'm right at that 50-50. But it's, I think it's a good thing because I never get bored of anything. Like I feel like if I taught nonstop, I'd get tired of it. But if I shot nonstop, I feel like I might run out of ideas or like that creative spark. Also, when I shoot, I come up with ideas of things to teach, and then when I teach, it fuels my desire to shoot to go teach more things. So like it's beautiful. It's a really good combination of things to do with your life.
Yeah, and it's funny whenever you're teaching people ask you questions and like it just gets your brain thinking in a different direction that you haven't thought about. And so then it can spark like, oh, I should try this, or this isn't a better way to explain what I've been teaching for the last 3 years. And so just kind of
Totally.
fine tune
They
things.
show me a photo like, how was this done? And I'm like, crap, I don't know. And then I have to figure it out,
Yeah.
like, give it a test. Yeah.
Or like, but it's like, how do I, you can't put it into words. Like you can't really explain it or right off the top of your head.
Yeah. Totally.
Awesome. So you got to play with the Canon R5 before it was announced. How did that go?
I mean, to be honest, I just shot it for a full day. Like I just finished maybe 5 minutes before this call. So I've actually been shooting a ton. I have used it. Well, okay. So I kind of cheated because right before everything shut down for quarantine, they hadn't given us cameras yet. And it was literally the day before I was leaving the city, like no more shoots, no more things were allowed. I said, "Hey, Canon, I gotta shoot tomorrow. Might be your last chance." And they sent me the camera, and then I've had it ever since.
You're like, well, now I can't send it back. So
Well, I'm really hoping nobody says anything. Like somebody mentioned it, and I'm like, until someone puts it in writing, I'm not sending it back. Like so, like horrible.
Yeah. Until I
Um,
have like a return label, I'm not putting it in a box.
yeah, or someone's like a little bit mad. Like
Yeah.
I gotta get them to like a little bit mad before I send it back. No. So I have actually absolutely put it through its paces. I think probably more than most that have had it because I've shot it so much. I've shot it for location photography, like outdoors, natural light. I've shot it outdoors with studio strobes. I've shot it in the studio. I've shot it in lower lighting conditions. I've shot it with 1.2 lenses wide open. I've shot it with, I mean, everything. And so just now, people would wince at this. I was shooting it this far above the water. I was in my pool and I was just like doing it. So long story short, I mean, I think it should also be self-explanatory that, or, would show that if I'm grabbing this camera and using it for everything, obviously I feel confident and love it for everything. Otherwise I would revert back to something else that I had.
Right.
I think the way that it changed or made the biggest difference is me shooting on location, wide open or close to wide open. The face and eye tracking is awesome. The electronic viewfinder, it doesn't feel electronic anymore. Like you don't notice it. It has to do with like the refresh rates. Like like you forget, you think you're just looking through the camera like a normal DSLR.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was shooting, I mean, I was shot all day outside in direct sunlight and it wasn't like, oh, can I see it? Like it worked flawlessly. And then, in a more practical sense, having the 45 megapixels was really good because in the past I shot the 5DS for certain of my beauty and macro work because I needed the greater file size and the more megapixels. And so now I don't have to also shoot that camera and then switch. Like it kind of put everything into one.
Mm-hmm. So do you think the R5 is going to like fully replace past camera bodies that you use or have?
Yeah. I don't really
Yeah.
know. I don't need to grab any of the other ones. And I won't. Like I would just need I do just need the R5. I'm trying to think, like, I mean, I think my EOS R will turn into like a behind the scenes camera. I'm getting a new studio and I'm going to set up a permanent talking head, you know, permanent interview setup. And I've got 2 EOS Rs because I liked them so much, you know, so I bought 2 and they'll probably turn into that. But for my shooting camera, it'll definitely be the R5.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of video as well, besides like the behind the scenes talking head type stuff?
Yeah. So the answer is medium. Because most of the time when I do video, I'm directing. So I'm not actually the person holding the camera. Like there is somebody on the camera, there's somebody on pulling focus, there's somebody on lighting, there's somebody on audio. Like I'm the one directing it.
Yeah.
So I'm not the right person to tell if, you know, like, oh my gosh, is this, you know, these specs, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, the one thing that I do actually film myself is I'll do something called Cinemagraphs. So they're the hybrid of motion and stills. And so basically something will be a still and it'll move endlessly on a loop. The reason I do that is if clients hire me to do video, then I have a video team doing that where it's like I'm directing, maybe I'm shooting stills and then they're shooting the video. But they periodically will want a cinematograph for social media. And there's definitely not a budget for let's go hire a video team just because we want a photo that has movement to it. So I end up shooting those. And I haven't tried it yet with the R5, but like I'm super excited, especially because I can do the 4K slow motion. So I can have big files and then have whatever it may be, like the hair moving slowly in the frame. Like that's something that'll be super useful for me.
Yeah. Well, and then you also have the new silent shutter that has 20 frames per second. So you could technically do the Cinemagraphs with like full raw files too, if you wanted to. But you don't get the slow motion aspect, but yeah.
Sure. And what's cool about that too is, so Cinemagraphs usually, if you just record video, then you are, you know, let's say it's HD video or whatever, you are grabbing a still frame and retouching it. But if I can get even higher, then I'm actually having more information to work with when I retouch the still part of the video frame.
Absolutely. So now that everyone's been talking about all the specs and features and stuff like that, do you feel like there's anything that's kind of like flown under the radar that you feel like people should know about or that excites you that people aren't talking about?
People, well, I know this is a silly one, but people, I haven't heard anyone talking about the battery. Like there's these new batteries. They're still the same form factor as the previous, but they last a lot longer. So today we started shooting around noon. I finished at like 7:30. And I changed my battery once and I was shooting all day. And so just in the past, you know, one of the reasons I was freaked out about mirrorless is like, oh my gosh, it's just going to eat batteries. And then if I get stuck, I can't even shoot. And so that's one of them that's been pretty awesome. Is it just the batteries last longer. I don't have to think about it. It's not a stress point. No, I mean, I think most of the things that people are talking about are what are, you know, it makes sense because it's what's exciting, but I'm sure people have mentioned this, but I think the thing that I'm most impressed about is the package. Like just the fact that it's all of it together. There's no one thing besides probably the focus that I would say like, you know, holy crap, like it's that. But it's the fact that it's the 45 megapixels and it's a great video and it's the focus and it's the form factor and like it's all of it together. You know, I'm one of those people that was lucky enough to be able to get interviewed or whatever you'd call it by the research and development teams at Canon. And I remember when they were asking us what we wanted, and like I feel like they kind of went, anything that we said like is a must-have, it's there, like 1000%. And I'm not talking like since the EOS R, like they asked us what's our dream camera like 4 years ago. And so I think this is what those interviews led to.
Yeah. So now that you've had the R5 for a while, is there anything that you feel like is missing that you wish would come in like a firmware update or in the new model, or is there like a dream feature that you want?
This is a good question that I don't have a good answer for. I think even though obviously I'm sponsored by Canon and I work with Canon, I get to test out their gear and I tell them what I want in the future. I think until there's something that's a shortfall like in the way that I'm functioning in my job, then I don't miss it. Like for example, I wish in the world of tethering that it were faster and easier, but I don't think that's like a Canon thing. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, maybe something like that, but no, not really. So far, I've been happy. And then, you know, in a few years, I'll know what the next level of things that are possible, like what that is, and then I'll have a whole list. So
Yeah, it's hard to answer that because, like, especially with the R5, where you're like on the brink of what's possible technology wise. So it's like, I don't know what's possible in the future.
yeah, I mean, there's going to be super cool things that I'm like not even smart enough to know yet.
Yeah. Awesome. So so let's say you're going to a shoot and you can only grab one camera, one lens. Is it the
Mhm.
R5, and what lens are you grabbing?
So my go-to lens most of the time is the RF 24-105.
Okay.
And the reason is that it's super versatile, and I usually don't shoot wide open actually stylistically,
Hmm.
especially in the studio. So I know I've got my wide shot covered, and I know I've got a decent headshot, but because it's 45 megapixels, even if I only get the headshot to here, like I can crop for even tighter. So that would be for sure be it. And then if I had to throw another one in because I had the opportunity to, it'd be the RF 85-1.2
Yeah. Okay.
if I
Awesome.
needed that wider aperture.
Awesome. So let's see. Tell people where they can find you.
Sure. So you can find me everywhere. But the places that I'm most active online would be Instagram. It's Lindsay Adler _photo. I post, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times a week. And I have an educational platform called Learn with Lindsay. And then I've been updating YouTube a lot recently. I've been working on that. So I've been coming up with a lot of new things that I want to share with people.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I'll link to those, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Great to chat with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.